Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary, quite incredible, quite unlike anything you may have experienced in your life.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Takeover Show. I'm your host, Misa, and today we got some very, very special people in the studio here at General Reference Studio. Guys, one more time, shout out to General Reference Studios, our partners. All that information is going to be at the bottom here below. Guys, you might think, is that Chewy from Doochies as a co-host? No, guys, no. Chewy called in sick, but today I got a very, very special co-host. He is from 93.1, Mr. Gray.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Misa. I appreciate it. It's a good time. Good time.
Dude,
I like being here the last time. It was a lot of fun, and you asked me to be your co-host for the day, and I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I asked you. I sent him a text, and then he's right away, dude, on my way. And I was like, dude, it's not today. It's tomorrow. Calmalo.
I was excited, man.
It was fun. It was good. Anyways, guys, and so we're back. Took a little break there. We're getting a little bit too excited here with my boy Grizz. But one more time, Grizz, thank you so much for coming through, bro.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate you, Grizz.
No worries.
Thanks, my guy. It's going to be fun. And speaking of fun, man, we got probably one of the most important guests that we've had so far here on this studio here at a Takeover Show. He is a 34th Judicial District Attorney, Mr. Bill Hicks. Jeez, Mr. Bill Hicks gets a triple horn, dude. Is that the first time you get a triple horn, Mr. Hicks?
I got to say it is, yeah.
Oh, you know what? You get another one, sir. Yes, sir. Well, before we get started, guys, one more time, I want to give a big old shout out to our friends here at General Reference Studios and also our sponsor of the day of this episode, our boys over there at Moose's Draft House. We had some delicious food before we came, before we started this. I don't know how we're going to make it through this. I am super full. Super excited. Now, Mr. Hicks, if you see me falling asleep, sir, it's just continue on with the conversation and we'll make it work. But one more time, Mr. Hicks, thank you so much for being here, sir. I know you're a very, very busy man, and thank you so much for taking the time to come in here and hang out with us, have some good food. But yeah, so for those who might not know you, Mr. Hicks, y'all need to freaking watch TV or something, dude. But for those that do not know you, sir, can you kind of introduce yourself a little bit here?
Sure. My name is Bill Hicks. I am the district attorney for El Paso, Hudspeth, and Culberson counties. I am your district attorney. The district attorney is the chief law enforcement official for the county. I do not answer to the Texas Attorney General. I do not answer to the governor. I answer to the people of this community. That means that all criminal prosecutions go through my office. If it's a misdemeanor or a felony, with the exception of juvenile offenses, go through the district attorney's office. My office makes the final decision when it comes to what is and is not going to be charged for misdemeanor and felony charges. If we decide to prosecute, it's on us. If we decide not to prosecute, it's on us. So it is my office to make those decisions.
Bro, and I thought my job was tough.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I sell internet for a living, dude. And I thought that was tough.
Hey, that is hard, man. There's a lot of mistakes you could make doing that, okay?
Yeah, it must be scary, though. I mean, having a serious job like that, Mr. Hicks, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure that comes with this job. But I want to kind of start from the very beginning. I want to know a little bit about Mr. Young Hicks, where he came from, what he did, what he didn't do, and how he ended up here in the great city of El Paso.
Well, yeah. So I guess to really get an idea, you got to understand, my grandparents settled in El Paso back in the 1930s.
Oh, okay.
And my dad started going, started going to Austin High School. My aunt graduated from Austin High School. She actually was one of the homecoming princesses from the College of Mines, and went on to be one of the Sun Bowl princesses. But in World War II, my grandfather was an airplane mechanic, civilian airplane mechanic. He was too old to serve, so civilian airplane mechanic out at Biggs Army Airfield. And the military does what the military does, and ships people out where they need them. My grandfather got shipped out to Piehote and to Rattlesnake Air Force Base, all these little Air Force bases where they were doing the bomber training. So he, of course, took the family away, and my dad ended up wasn't going to be here in El Paso by himself, so he went up to NMI to finish high school, and he went on to Texas Tech, and from Texas Tech went to the Korean War, served in Korea, came back, finished his college degree in Sol Ross, and then he joined the rest of the family, which by that time had settled in Odessa. And I ended up being born and raised in Odessa. Went to Odessa Permian. You may have heard of Friday Night Lights.
Oh, wow. Did you play football there?
I didn't play football, but Friday Night Lights was written during my senior year of high school.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, my claim to fame is I drank beer at a high school party with Buzz Bissinger.
That's something not a lot of people can say, sir. That's something that you should, whenever you do pass away, you make sure people say that to people that are there.
Bill Hicks trivia, that's an important
Yeah. So after high school, I went on to Texas A&M for my undergraduate. I started off college to be an engineer. I did really well in science and math in high school, and headed off to be an engineer at Texas A&M. I was going through my first 2 years in engineering, and I just didn't see myself sitting behind a computer all day long and working on computers and doing.
I mean, who wants to do math all day, dude? That's what I thought.
I got to tell you, college math is a lot harder than high school math.
Yeah.
It's hurting my head already.
I was really having to work hard. But that really wasn't it. I just didn't see myself. I wanted more human interaction. I wanted to be able to say I was really making a difference in people's lives. So I talked to one of my mentors there in college who was a lawyer, and he said, well, if you want to be a lawyer and you want to be one of these guys who shows up late and leaves early and goes and spends all of his time at the golf course, stay home. Don't do it. Don't change your major. Because we got plenty of those guys, right? But if you want to work hard and you want to live just a normal lifestyle, because you're not going to be this rich guy, you're not going to be country club rich, but you're going to be a normal guy and you want to make some decent money, but you want to work hard and be able to say you make a difference in people's lives, come on down, be a lawyer. I said, well, I'm not afraid of working hard. I mean, I'm an engineer.
But I mean, the golfing does sound fun, though.
Oh, yeah.
Just say,
You haven't seen my game.
Oh!
So and most of all, I wanted to be able to say that I made a difference in people's lives. I want to be able to be that person. So I changed my major so I could get my grades up and get into law school. And eventually I did and went over to Texas Tech School of Law, graduated law school, and I had a bunch of friends who were in El Paso. And I'm looking around for a job that's going to pay me something decent. I applied across the state. And Harris County DA's office, an insurance defense firm in Austin, and El Paso gave me job offers. Well, El Paso was where my roots were, and I had a bunch of friends here, and so here I am. Came to El Paso and joined the DA's office.
Yeah.
Wow. I never knew that if you wanted to be a lawyer, you were going to end up here in El Paso.
Yeah. I joined the DA's office in February of 1998.
Sheesh! I was eating dirt at that age, at that time, dude.
Yeah, 98. I guess I was probably around the same time.
That's what we were doing, dude. We were eating dirt.
But now we're talking to Bill Hicks.
Now we're here with the great Bill Hicks.
Well, I don't know about great, but
I still eat dirt, but I don't talk about it as much.
So during this time that you went to law school, you graduated, got a job here. I think you eventually started your own law firm or something, right? Is that where it went?
I was in the DA's office for 12 and a half years. During my time in the DA's office, I prosecuted everything from Class C misdemeanors all the way up to a capital murder death penalty case, which, by the way, he was if we go to trial in the Walmart case, that's going to be the second white supremacist that I put on death row. The first one was here in El Paso. I put a white supremacist on death row.
Which one was that one? What case was that for that first one?
His name was Justin Hall.
That motherfucker.
Yeah.
That motherfucker.
Yeah, well, commendations to you. That's all.
He was a captain in the Aryan Circle. He had killed a transvestite, and then he was out on bond for that, and he killed another young lady in order of retaliation to keep her from calling the police on one of his lieutenants, and he got the death penalty. So
you did a good job there, Hicks. Good job, sir. You know what? For that, you get another triple horn.
Well earned.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I remained at the DA's office for 12 and a half years, prosecuted everything, was on all the different areas. I ended up leaving the DA's office as a supervisor, and I became a district court judge in 2010. I served till the end of 2012, and in 2013 I went back into private practice, went out into private practice, started my own law firm. I joined a partnership, went back into my own private practice. About 9 years I spent in private practice.
And how was that? How was that time during that time of doing it on your own, doing that private practice?
You know, I did family law, I did some personal injury work, and I did some criminal defense work. It's really a unique position to be able to say that I've literally sat in all the different positions in the courtroom. I've been the district court, I've been the judge, I've been the prosecutor, and I've been the criminal defense attorney. And at the same time, I've operated my own law firm. I've been the managing partner of a law firm that we had a $5 million revenue. You know, I've seen all the different aspects of the courtroom and the business world. So it's really given me a unique perspective now as the district attorney.
Right. I'm curious too. All of the stuff that you've done, how do you feel like all of that has like really prepared you for the position that you're in now?
It has in a very unique way because I'm able to. So the role of the district attorney is not to get convictions. The role of the district attorney, and it's defined under law, is to see that justice is done, to seek justice. Okay, so that means that when we're looking at a case, we don't necessarily look at this case, okay, we have to get a conviction on this case. Some people deserve a conviction, some people don't. I explained that my prosecutorial theory is it's just like the Lady of Justice has scales, right? You have two scales.
Right.
Okay? Well, in one hand, you have the full weight of the criminal justice system, and you have to be able to bring that full weight down on somebody who is a danger to society, and you have to be able to do that and know how to do it. But on the other hand, you have to be able to help people out of the criminal justice system who don't need to be there, people that have a mental health illness, veterans, people who need a helping hand to get out of the criminal justice system through rehabilitative programs, through programs that are going to get them back on medication, programs that are going to get them deferred and out of the criminal justice system and able to get a job. It's very hard to get if you have a felony conviction. Get them a job back in their medical treatment plan and get them back out of the criminal justice system and return them to being productive members of society. Okay, so you got two different ways of looking at things. Because I've been a criminal defense attorney for 9 years, I've been a judge, I have a very unique position of being able to say I have a very good perspective of what is the time to bring the hammer and the time to bring the helping hand.
Sorry, Misa.
No, good. No.
I just wanted to say that's super refreshing to hear. I think more often than not, when people think about politicians or when we think about people that are in these higher up positions, you know, the first thing that goes through our minds is like, oh, this person's just looking for the bottom line. They're just looking to, you know, help themselves,
put them away,
to make themselves look better for the constituency, whatever it happens to be. So that's really refreshing to hear that you're coming at it from the side of yes, there is a responsibility that I have to put the weight of the justice system down, but at the same time, I am capable of seeing who needs help. Right. And who needs punishment.
Right, and then like he said, he's keeping that balance. I mean, if I was in your position, I'd be flipping through it like guilty. Lunchtime, let's go, sir. You know, but it's good that you have somebody like you that really understands. Now, I wanted to ask. I know in situations like this, in big cases, how hard is it to not get the emotions involved? How do you deal with the emotions when it comes to cases like that?
I'll tell you the hardest cases have historically been for me the ones involving child sex cases. Nobody likes to try a child sex case. The defense attorneys don't like it, the judges don't like it, and the prosecutors don't like it. Historically, those cases have just absolutely torn my heart out. And as a lawyer, we're taught as lawyers that you have to maintain a certain amount of objectivity because you have to as you're going through the trial, you have to always be thinking ahead, 5, 6, 7 steps. What is the defense doing? Where are they going? How can I be prepared for where they're going? And, how's the judge reacting? How's the jury reacting? You always have to be, very conscious of of your surroundings and what's going on, and that you have to be kind of objective to do that. And the more you get attached to the case, the more emotional you get in the case, the harder it is to do that. And it is so hard to remain objective when you're fighting for a child who has been sexually molested, and it just got.
Oh, I could just imagine, man. I'd be like, guilty, extra guilty for that motherfucker.
I'm curious actually, because before we jumped on here and started recording, you were talking a little bit about how when people specifically like you're in trial for somebody who has murdered someone, you spend most of that time in that courtroom specifically with the person who has killed someone, and obviously not with the people who are dead because they can't speak for themselves. And you had mentioned that it's sort of natural for people to build empathy for that person because you're hearing their side the entire time, and there's not really anybody there to fight for the other side aside from whoever's hired to do that. But it's not always the same. It's not as sentimental as hearing somebody sort of talk about their perspective there on the stand. How does that compare to the child sex cases?
So what we were talking about earlier is the jury's perspective, right? So the jury is sitting there the whole time, days on end, and the only people they have in the courtroom to look at are the attorneys and the defendant. And so they spend the entire time, most of the time, just sitting there staring at the defendant, and then the witnesses come and go. But it's the defendant that they're kind of living with every day for day in and day out, time and time again. And it's natural for the jury to kind of empathize with the defendant and whatever their side of the story is. In child sex cases, it's a little harder for them to do that, but eventually they still have that proclivity, right? So it becomes very difficult because almost all child sex cases come down to he said, she said. So you have a jury sitting there staring at this guy and thinking, this guy says he didn't do it. This teenager says he did. Well, gosh, I don't have any other evidence because it's probably a delayed outcry, and a delayed outcry is, there's not going to be any evidence on a delayed outcry. There's no DNA 2, 3, 4 days, a year, a month later. And, the teenager is unlikely to run out of the room screaming when an uncle, a stepdad, mom's boyfriend has gone into the room late at night and done something that horribly embarrasses that child. And the child's, living with the embarrassment. I don't know what to do. Oh, my God, was it my fault? Did I do something wrong? Why is it me? Why did this happen? They're going through all of this emotional trauma after it has happened. So they're not going to jump, run out of the room screaming, oh, my God, the bad thing happened. So they live with it for days, months, years, until they're brave enough or old enough or have enough self-confidence to say what happened to them. So we have, a delayed outcry. So there's very little evidence. And now it comes down to he said, she said. And it's very, very difficult for juries who are sitting there listening to this teenager who comes in, says their story, and then leaves. And then we as the prosecutors are left to try to build up the case around what she said.
Man, even just thinking and saying it like that, how difficult it would be. I could just imagine being in that situation, from your position to the child. Man, I'm glad I work for Spectrum now, dude. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, and I know that those cases aren't easy for the kids. I know, especially a while back, it used to be a really, really intense process where they had to sort of re-traumatize themselves as they repeat the facts of the case as the kids understand it, over and over and over again, and that can be difficult in itself. But then, to have to sit there for the whole trial and to hear everything happening,
Yeah, and unfortunately, the only way you can really get a jury to believe the child is for the child to really explain what happened to him in detail. Because if the child just comes in and says, very glossary, kind of bigger terms of what happened to him, oh, well, he came in that night and he touched me and he put his thing in me and then he left. Well, the jury's going to be like, oh, there's not enough detail. She could have heard that in some sort of story or other kids told her stuff and she doesn't know. I mean, that's not enough detail. We don't believe that. So you really have to have the child explain. And the next thing you know, you have a 9-year-old describing what a penis feels like. And the jury's like, first off, ew.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an
second,
uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, and second, they have a hard time believing why a 9 or 10-year-old would understand what that would feel like, right? And so, but you have to have this poor little child describing that. And that's, you are re-victimizing the victim. Yeah. And sometimes, and juries have a hard time, or public has a hard time understanding this, but sometimes you don't want to re-victimize the victim. And so we go into plea bargains with defendants who deserve to go away from prison forever. But sometimes we go into plea bargains and we give them something much less than what they deserve, because you don't want to put this 9-year-old, 10-year-old on the stand to re-victimize them and make them relive something that now 2, 3, 4 years down the road, through counseling and everything else, they've kind of started moving on with their lives. And they don't want to, or maybe they haven't gone to counseling, which is even worse, and you don't want to force them to relive those nights where the boogeyman came to visit.
Jeez. I gotta say too, I know it's a heavy topic, I know it's a heavy subject, but to hear that side of it, I think is a huge deal. I don't think that I've ever, in all the time that I've researched stuff like this or that I've talked to people like this, I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk, specifically say that.
Yeah.
How it's difficult, not just because you want to get justice for the kid, but how sometimes the best thing to do for the child in that situation is to plea bargain with somebody else. Yeah, because at that point, it's about getting them out of that situation so that they're not stuck in that same cycle of re-traumatization. That's nuts.
And I think that's good to hear, though, like how you explained it, because I mean, we hear a lot of stories, where there's a plea bargain that happens and then this person gets off for a little bit of time and people don't know why, and then there's just like, oh, this guy just got off with so little time after all he did. But hearing it like that, that explains a lot. I think a lot more people need to kind of think about what type of court it is and what type of situation is going through. But speaking of cases and all, is there a case that has always stood up to you that's very memorable, that maybe changed the way that you do things, or it's just a very memorable case?
Well, you always have the cases that every case you lose, you always you learn more from the cases you lose than the cases you win, right? So the cases that I've lost or not had as good a result from, those always stick in my mind and are always the ones that just gig you in the middle of the night. There are some cases that were very telling to me. We had a guy who just couldn't let his wife go. She said she was tired of the abuse. He had kind of been a very abusive person, but not he didn't ever hold her down and just beat her, but he would push her around. And so she had gotten a protective order and said, we're getting separated. I'm getting a protective order. And protective order did all the right things, told he didn't know where she had moved to, didn't know her address, didn't know where she was working. All of those things were protected, but he knew where she took the kids to daycare. So he parked across the street and waited for her to go drop the kids off at daycare. So it's the day she showed up, dropped the kids off to daycare, he walked right in the front door of the daycare and shot her multiple times in front of his own kids.
What the fuck?
Multiple times in front of his own kids. Mom dies in front of his own kids, in front of the daycare workers, literally just feet away from a whole classroom of the kids that her daughter was going to.
Oh my God.
And
where was that? Where did this happen? What city was it?
It was here in El Paso. This was 2004, 2005.
Holy shit.
Somewhere in that time period.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I mean, the poor kids, losing their mother and then now their father as well for what it's did. But ouch. And how do you handle, going through this? I know, like, obviously it's a memorable thing, but how do you take that? How do you go home and kind of wake up the next day and continue to do it all over again?
Especially
how does Bill Hicks Are you strong enough to keep going, sir?
Yeah, at that time I was in what we now call the homicide unit. At that time we called it special crimes, but I was in the homicide unit, and it was every day we were dealing with homicide cases every day. It was very emotionally draining to be in the homicide unit. It was tough. It was a tough job.
I bet. And to have to do it for you've been doing this for a long time. So I'm sure, even just the ones that you've described to us, I'm sure you've seen a myriad of cases like this. And I know that wears people down. At the very least, that is something that I've heard from a lot
I feel
of
like
people
crying for everything. Imagine if I was to do that, Dan. Like,
for that many years, having to see that many different cases where people are doing terrible shit.
I mean, obviously, you gotta be it's gotta be the right person to be in the sort of position that you're in, right? You gotta know how to do your job, how to do it right, obviously, and then keep those emotions in.
Yeah.
Especially when you see and hear like these cases with kids, or knowing that it was a really bad person. I'd feel so angry all the time if it was something like that. Like extra guilty, like I said earlier. But I wanted to ask, December 21st of 2022, you were appointed by Governor Greg Abbott to be the district attorney here in El Paso. You got that call. How was it? What did he say? Did he like, hey, this is the governor of Texas, number one country in America. We need you right now. How did that conversation go? And how was the feelings? How did you feel in that big moment?
I just responded, "Hey, Tio Greg, how you doing?" No.
¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué rollo, tío?
Actually, you don't. I've never actually talked to the governor himself. You go through. There's an appointment process. You go through. Okay, let's back up. Going into the fall of 2022, I saw what was happening in the Yvonne Rosales office, and I saw
or what wasn't happening.
Right, and I saw a lot of problems. Right, and I figured out that there was a good possibility that she was going to lose her seat. The lawsuit had been filed to remove her from office, and I saw it coming. So I started looking around the city, and I said, who else is going to be likely to apply for the position? And I didn't see anyone that I thought had the experience that was going to be necessary to bring back the district attorney's office, start putting the pieces back together, and start rebuilding the office. So I started kind of winding down my practice, going through into November, really winding down the practice. Towards the end of November, when she announced her resignation, I called up the governor's office. They have an office for appointments. And I said, "Hi, this is Bill Hicks. I think I'm going to apply for the position at the district attorney's office." And they said, "No, we know who you are. We've been waiting for your application. Let's go. Andale, vámonos." Okay, so I got.
Why are you calling late?
Right, exactly.
How did that feel?
It was very nice. It made me feel good. Apparently, they had been looking at me because there was some talk about if she had not resigned, they were going to remove her from office, and there was going to be an interim DA appointed. And apparently, they had been looking at me as possibly appointing me as interim DA.
Damn.
But
they were already thinking of Hicks, dude.
Yeah,
you were already on the mind. They were there.
I didn't know that, but that's very gratifying. Made me feel really good. But anyway, I sent off my application. You go through the application. There's a background check. It's a pretty lengthy little process. So this all happened at the end of November, first part of December. I actually don't hear back from the governor's office other than it's in the works. It's in the works. Don't worry, it's in the works. So I continue to wind down my practice, and in the week of December 14th, I get a call from the governor's office. So I asking me if everything's okay, are we on track? How soon can I be ready to transition? And I said, well, I still have some cases, and I've been working with the judges, so I'd probably need maybe 4 or 5 days from the time that you tell me it's a go for me to actually be ready to be appointed. I say, okay, that's good, that's fine. And Yvonne Rosales' resignation was effective at 5 p.m. on the 14th. They call me in the morning of the 14th. The governor's office calls me on the morning of the 14th and says, okay, so the governor's going to do a press release today at noon saying that he's appointing you. I said, well, wait a minute. What happened to those, 3-4 days I need to get out of my case?
I haven't even packed my stuff.
Wait. The governor is very confident that you'll be able to work all of that out. So we're going to send you the press release, let you edit it, and it'll be ready to go at noon. Like, what? It'll be ready at noon. Okay.
I'm confident you'll get it done, sir.
I guess at that point, there's nothing you can do.
What do you say to that? It's like, I'm not confident.
The governor is like, hey, man, you got this. Don't worry.
I said days, not hours.
So going into this, as you're getting appointed, I mean, obviously you said it yourself. You already sort of knew that there was some backlash from the former DA, and that you were coming into a little bit of a situation, right? How did that feel? I mean, were you energized by sort of like all of the things that you were going to have to clean up?
Were you nervous? Because I mean, I was reading through it. I mean, obviously you had the Walmart shooting, that was backed up. You had the reduce a backlog that's happened over 14,000 cases behind. And then of course it's also filling up your staff there at the district office.
I think anybody else would be like, oh man, I just got this job and now my boss is telling me I gotta get this other job and do all the
it's like
work
there's a
for that
shit
person.
show over there and Hicks, come here sir, you're fixing this.
You got this, buddy. You're our new guy.
All right, sir, give me 5 minutes. No, I get you 30 seconds. But I mean, how was that? How was that? I mean, I'm sure it's exciting, but then looking at what you have to deal with and what's on the table, how do you handle that? How does Bill Hicks do? Does he go and take a shot, or does he go and slap himself a little bit, spray some water, or how did you handle all that?
Tequila.
If his wife comes in and she's like, "No sea mamón, get your ass to work." That's crazy, but
no, seriously. Okay, so I was my appointment was effective at 5:00 on the 14th, right? So I go in on the 15th, which is the first day I can actually walk in the office when everyone's there. I walk in the office on the 15th, and remember, I've been there for 12 and a half years, right? So I knew the DA's office. So I walk in on the 15th, and I'm kind of walking around the office, and I was shocked. I was shocked at how the morale, the vibe was so bad. People, everyone's doors were closed. They were hunkered down. They were hiding. They were scared. Everyone was it was just the worst vibe ever. There were lights. The lights weren't working. I mean, that takes a phone call
to that point.
It was awful. It was awful. So, I was under Jaime Esparza, morale would be up, morale would be down. It would come and go, right? I had never seen the morale as bad as it was. It was unbelievable. It was horrible. It was just horrible.
What a downer.
It was incredible.
Right? You go into this new job and then you come in, there's a light flickering. It's not even working properly. People are hiding, like
somebody's got their door cracked. Peeking out at the new DA.
You see the little weeds going across the hallway.
Little mouse scampers by.
The wind's whistling. It's so I took situation. Kind of got everything situated. I was sworn in on the 21st. So officially I was the district attorney on the 21st when I was sworn in. Because it took me 3 or 4 days to get those out of those cases, right? So
Hicks is like, I told you 3 or 4 days.
So I got out of my cases 3 or 4 days later on the 21st. I was sworn in as the DA. And I called the whole office in. We had a big, giant meeting. I said, okay, guys, look, I know through no fault of your own, just through bad leadership, but through no fault of your own, the district attorney's office has a bad reputation. So that stops today. As of today, you're going to hold your heads high because honesty and integrity are the hallmarks of this office starting today. You hold your head high because from now on, only honesty and integrity are tolerated by me, and for everyone here. You will hold your head high. You will go to court and you will seek justice. That is your only job. Seek justice on every case that we have. Victims come first, and you do your best. That's all I ask. Do your best, and you'll be rewarded. So
that's a good locker room speech right there, dude. That got me going too.
Yeah, it is. That's how you get the lawyers riled up, right?
And then after he's all like, "Now everybody, give me down, get 10, give me 10 points right now." But that's great. I mean, and how was that? How was that first couple of weeks, first month, first 6 months of that job?
Yeah, especially having to shift the morale around, having to sort of bring people back up.
Yeah, and not just that, but there's a lot of people, people from El Paso thinking like, well, I mean, this lady messed up. How is it going to get any better with somebody new?
Right. So, I know that there was a lot of questions about what we were going to do. I spent the rest of December, the first part of January, kind of taking stock of how bad it was. People knew what they'd seen in the media, but but I got to tell you, they only knew about half of the problems that the office had. I started starting in January, I started bringing in some real key leaders that the office needed to start getting things reorganized and start getting things moving again. Started giving them my directions, my goals for the office, and we started seeing some real change by March. We started really seeing the rust falling off of the wheels, and started seeing things moving faster and getting going again.
Did you end up switching that light right away too?
You know, we did. As a matter of fact, we did. It was one of the first things we did. We called maintenance. We said, "Hey, get up, but fix the dadgum lights. Come on." So yeah, actually, we did. One of the first things we did because seriously, that makes a big difference in your morale. I mean, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the atmosphere, right? You have to, when you walk in and, I mean, you do see a dim light, I'd be like, is it creepy or I'm about to get mugged? So one of those two is about to happen. Something's going to scare me.
Gonna get mugged at my job.
But I mean, that's good. I mean, and it's true. I'm sure that the people that were working there, I mean, they were in that situation where, I mean, damn, they're going downhill right now and they're in the spotlight and they're not in the spotlight for something good. And Bill Hicks comes in, you know, there's a new chief in town. All right. And taking over, and that's great. Was it as hard, or was it easier than you thought, or was it something that has it been going what you expected, how you expected?
You know, in some ways it's been easier, and in other ways it's been a lot harder. It's been surprising to me some of the problems we've had motivating the attorneys to ramp up the level of work that we've needed. Some of our attorneys are absolute rock stars. Man, they give and give and give and are the very definition of public servants. They understand that a public servant is a servant of the public, and they work their hearts out. They are amazing attorneys.
Shout out to them, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
They give, and hopefully if they do see me in there, give me a break too.
And you know what? Shout out to all the public servants who embody that, who know that they are public servants who work for the people because that's what they believe in. I appreciate that.
Man, dude, you should work for the city of El Paso, dude.
Should I?
Yeah, you're very motivational. Bro.
Oh, thank you.
Like, he came in, he's like, can't wait to eat, dude.
I was like, I'm going to eat some barbecue, and that's it.
But that's good. I wanted to know, man, 14,000 cases and backlogs. How does something get to that point?
Okay, so think about it this way. On an average year, we get sent to the DA's office from law enforcement officials about 30,000 cases. We review about 30,000 cases, and we end up filing about 20,000 cases, about 12,000 more or less misdemeanors, and about more or less 8,000 felony cases. Every year is about the average. So in the 2 years that Ms. Rosales was in office, she amassed 14,000 cases that had not even been looked at. So the 30,000 that's coming in, she had amassed about 14,000 that weren't even looked at, right? So they're sitting out there in this cloud that's just full of cases that hadn't even been looked at. That's not fair to the victims of crime that had did the right thing. They called the police came out and investigated. They finished up their case. They found who they thought did it, and they sent it off to the DA's office for investigation. It's not fair to the defendant who's had a case pending over their head for a year or 2 years.
Well, how long can it be pending for something like that? Is there a time limit for an offense?
Because at some point they get dismissed, don't they?
Well, yes and no. The pending.
Yeah, you said yes to me and no to him. So I was like,
the time limit is 2 years on a misdemeanor, typically about 5 years on a felony. Depends on the felony, but about 5 years on a felony. If yes, they can be dismissed in that interim time, and that's what happened. You saw in the news, 1,000 cases got dismissed.
Yeah.
damn.
But what?
See, shut up, Chewy. Sorry, Misa.
That hurt, dude. That one hurt.
But what was really happening is the prosecution of the case was being dismissed, not the case itself.
Okay.
If a person had been arrested and they were out on bond, they were being released from the conditions of bond. So because if there's a rule out there that says, or a statute that says, if the DA has not proceeded or announced ready for trial within 180 days of the person being arrested, the person has the ability to request to be released from the conditions of bond, which is the dismissal of the prosecution of the case. Doesn't mean that we can't come back within the statute of limitations and refile the case. It just means the person gets off of bond.
I can imagine that for somebody who's been sitting waiting for justice for a case.
Yeah,
that can feel pretty crappy.
Yeah.
Except that here's the hitch. Okay, let's say you say, I'm tired of being on the conditions of bond. I don't like the fact that I can't go hang out with the person that I'm told under these conditions of bond because it's a domestic violence case. I'm told under the conditions of bond I can't hang out with this person. Okay. Well, you don't like that condition anymore, and you want to go hang out with this person, so you go get your case dismissed. Well, now you get to go hang out with this person, regardless of what that person thinks, right? That person doesn't like you. That person doesn't want you around anymore. But that doesn't matter. Now the conditions of bond are gone, and you can go hang out with that person. And she has to file another charge against you. But what happens when I file the case? You're going to get arrested again.
Oh, damn.
All that money that you spent on bond,
Gone.
you got to go spend more money on bond.
Gone.
Wow.
I mean, 30,000 average a year, right? That goes through your office. People that are watching and listening right now, fucking behave, guys. Fucking pórtase bien a la pinche verga, güey. No sean
You're
mamones.
stressing Bill Hicks out.
I mean, come on, guys. I'm over here, dude. I haven't broken the law in like 5 years and shit.
It's not that hard, guys. It's not that hard.
I mean, no, it's not that hard, guys. It's not. No, it really is not. But I mean, it just sounds a lot, It sounds a lot, and just people fucking behave. Behave.
I wanted to ask because I think, and I don't know for sure, but I know when I was reading part of all those cases that had been held up, one of them was the Walmart shooter. It was that like coming into it, obviously it's a very big deal. It was passionate for a lot of people who were living here, who are from here. So, I mean, what was your priority with that case, or how was it coming into that, knowing that was there?
Let me mention that on the 14,000 cases that were in intake, we're now down to less than 1,000. Right?
Oh.
Nice. Give it to him. There it is. There it is.
A lot of those cases are now in court, so some of our courts have backlogs, some don't. Just depends on the courts. But those 14,000 we've processed them. They're all moved into court. Well, a lot of them were dismissed or declined, but the ones that weren't have moved into court. Now let's talk about Walmart. Walmart from the day one was my number one priority. I saw what had happened in the prior administration. I said, we've got to get this thing straightened out.
I mean, it just seemed like a mess, man. Every time you turn on the TV, it was something that was going on with that case. It seemed like it was never coming to come to a conclusion. Nothing was going to happen. It was just a standstill on that.
Well, let me explain one thing. Okay, first off, so originally back in August of 2019, when he was originally arrested, he was arrested by state law enforcement. So he was taken into state custody. The state filed an indictment in early October, maybe late September, early October of 2019. He appeared in court and was arraigned. Shortly after the arraignment, which is where he came in and said not guilty, which is standard. You always plead not guilty at arraignment. And on a capital murder charge, it's by law. You have to plead not guilty. So shortly after the arraignment, he was then taken into federal custody. The federal government filed what's called a writ of habeas corpus ad prosequendum. Fancy word.
How does he remember that, dude?
He took the bar.
Okay.
Basically what it means is, hey, guys, we're going to borrow him for us. So they came over and took him into federal custody. They had him in federal custody from late 2019 all the way till July of 2023. Okay? While he's in federal custody, the state of Texas can't do anything in court with him. Now, we can have status conferences and we can have hearings that don't involve the substance of the case, but we can't have motions to suppress. We can't have hearings on the experts. We can't have all those other hearings that are important hearings that we need to have to move the case forward. And we sure can't go to trial. So he's in federal custody. The state can't move the case forward. He was in federal custody for over 3 years, just sitting there.
Wow.
And finally, after almost 4 years, the federal government resolves their case. They had COVID, nothing was happening during COVID. And finally, then they decide, they go back and forth, and they finally figure out what they're going to do, and he finishes up the federal charges. And then he's released to state custody in July of 2023. He comes in, has his first hearing in, I don't know, September, October, or September, I think, of 2023. And then we come back, and by December of 2023, the state made the announcement that we were ready to go to trial. Judge, you set the trial date, we're ready. The defense has been objecting, saying that they're not ready to go to trial. They're not ready, they're not ready, they're not ready. The state has been saying, we are ready, we are ready, we are ready. We have a status conference set for September the 12th, a scheduling conference set for September the 12th. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in that. The judge is the one that sets the agenda. We'll have to wait and see what the judge does for us on September the 12th.
So, oh, dude, I mean, what a mess.
Yeah,
I mean, especially in a big case like this, you want to make sure that it's being done properly and for the sake of the people that are involved, right? The families and all that. So I was reading it. Was this going to be something to where the death sentence is going to be involved in it? Is there going to be a life sentence instead? What is it looking like in the future? And in your opinion, how long do you think this trial will keep going for?
Well, okay. So there is of course an election, right? This case is realistically, it's not going to be set for trial till 2025. So either myself or my opponent are going to be the DA starting in January. If I am the DA, I can tell you that I am very committed that this case needs to go to trial for a couple of reasons. Number one, the only way that the community is going to know what truly happened is if we go to trial. Because if we go to trial, we're going to present the evidence. We present the evidence in an open courtroom. The public has access. The public's going to know what truly happened. What happened before he came to El Paso, what happened on the way to El Paso, what happened immediately before going into Walmart, what happened in Walmart, and what happened after Walmart. All of it, the facts, are going to be known and they're going to be public. You're never going to get that from a briefing or from an attorney standing in court and reading a summary. You're only going to get it through a 2 or 3 week long trial,
right,
where all of the evidence is presented. And I think our community needs that.
Yeah,
I agree with that too.
Number two, if he ends up with a plea bargain, that's one person, the district attorney, saying, here's what the plea bargain is. And it would be life in prison. Here's what the plea bargain is. He gets life in prison. Someone who comes to our community for the intention of hunting down Hispanic people and doing what he did and wounding our community the way he did, I think needs to face justice from the community. Not from one person, but from the community. Now, if the community decides it's a death penalty and he deserves the death penalty, then that's up to those 12 people in the jury box. If the 12 people in the jury box, who are hopefully the jury of our community, who decide he deserves life, then that's the jury's decision. Right or wrong, that's the jury's decision. But I think that really should be a decision of the community as represented by the 12 people in the jury box. So I'm committed that this case should go to trial because I think that the jury and our community through the jury needs to be the ones to say
To make that decision, yeah.
what's the appropriate justice in this case.
Wow. I mean, pretty tough situation to be in.
I mean, that's the hard part about something like this, right? Because this does affect, it shocks the entire community. It hurts everybody. What's going on over there?
What's happening?
Who's got a phone going off?
No,
come on.
Oh, sweet Lord. But so, bringing the election up there, so you're having this election coming up in November, right?
Yeah.
So what's the process on that? What are your plans and what does the future hold for Bill Hicks?
I plan to get reelected. That's what I
There
plan
you
to do.
go. There you go. That's the attitude. That's the attitude that's going to get you
Ribs for everyone.
Man, those are some good ribs, too.
They were delicious.
Call up mooses. Let's
boy.
get that celebration party going.
Let's go. So, we're out campaigning. We're out block walking. We're out putting up signs. We're talking to people. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy talking to the people out there. it's really good. So
you're great to talk to, man. I mean, thinking about when somebody says district attorney, you want to call in sick and not show up to an interview. Chewy. But but I mean, when you get to talk to yourself to you and kind of just shoot the shit like how we're doing right now. People start really seeing like, hey, this guy's just another person, man, that is really good at what he does. He takes his job serious, but he's also a Texan, right? Yeah. And really quick, now that I said Texan, I need to ask you a very, very important question here, Mr. Hicks. Are you a Cowboy fan?
Yeah, it hurts to be a Cowboy fan. Man.
That's fair.
Every year. Every year I get excited, and then every year I cry.
You know what? That's fair. The one thing that we hold over everybody else is no matter what, we are still America's team.
Yes.
Who made it in America's team?
America, okay?
Were they appointed or were they elected?
Both.
But
I think Jerry Jones's management, his marketing team made us the America's team.
Yeah, dude. How is Jerry Jones still alive? I don't know, dude.
He's praying to the right God, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing something right. He's getting a lot of money. That's what he's doing.
I wanted to touch on that really quick, though. I just wanted to say, I think it's true. One of the things that happens, I think more often than not, when we're looking on the outside in, we see people for the sort of what they're sold to us. Whether the news tells us a certain thing or somebody that we trust tells us a certain thing, whether they're biased or not. We hear a lot of stuff about people, and we don't often get to just sit down and talk to people, like people. So this has been very
man, and that's why I love doing this show. I want for people that that are on the show or guests, and I want the people that are watching to see the guests as one of us. We're all in the same city. Everybody is good at what they do. But I think that's the main thing that I love, man, is that we could sit here with the district attorney and really talk to him like a friend. And like he said, what did he say earlier? Well, at least now we know the DA, in which, we get in trouble, which was give him a call or
just
something.
Give him a call, yeah.
What did you say, Hicks?
I said, look, if you get in trouble, you get arrested, you just give me a call, bro. Don't worry about it. I got you taken care of. I'll make some phone calls on your behalf. I'll make sure that you get a cell with a view. I got you taken care of, bro.
Only the best from District Attorney Bill Hicks.
Yeah. Cell with a view. I got you.
Do they have views? Do they have views on top?
Well, they do if you know Bill Hicks.
Guys, call Bill Hicks. He'll hook you up.
Call him, vote for him.
Call him.
Get that cell with a view.
So for those that are watching, I know we get we have a lot of people that are from ages from the 18 all the way up to their 50s, and that age group now. I'll be honest with you, Hicks. I've never been the type to be like, oh, I wonder who's going to be running for district attorney in November. Let me go and vote and see. What would you tell these people that are out there that have never done any of this or really don't know what's going on? What would you want to tell them to go out there and go vote for you and do all this stuff?
Local elections, yeah.
Why the district attorney's office is so important is we just really have to look at what happened in the 2 years that Yvonne Rosales was in office. We had over 1,000 cases that were dismissed. We had a backlog of over 14,000 cases. The Walmart case itself was nearly rendered improsecutable, not able to be prosecuted. There were so many things that happened in just 2 short years because of her lack of experience and her immaturity in office, that if you have the wrong person as the district attorney, the district attorney's office starts to fall apart. The district attorney's office falls apart, the backbone of our society starts to fall apart because the district attorney's office holds the criminal justice system together. If criminals aren't held accountable because they're not even able to go to court, then the entire criminal justice system starts to break down. And the thing that makes El Paso a safe city is an effective criminal justice system. We all want to live in a safe city. We all want to know that if somebody breaks into our house, they're going to be prosecuted. If somebody hurts our sister or our daughter, then exactly, we know that they're going to be prosecuted and the right thing's going to happen. And at the same time, if our uncle who was a veteran of Desert Storm of the military service, is having trouble and gets involved in criminal activity because he wouldn't leave the Circle K because he was having a flashback of some sort. We want to make sure that he's not going to be abused by the criminal justice system.
That's true. Yeah.
And so you need to know that you have a district attorney in office who understands the difference and understands how to handle those situations. You need that.
Yeah,
and so that's why the district attorney's office is so important. That's why you need to get out and vote. And that's why we value justice over politics.
Yeah.
Justice over politics. You hear that? Justice over. I'm going to get a tattoo of that, dude.
Justice over politics.
Like if I get pulled over and shit.
Bill Hicks told me this.
It's like his signature down here. But you know what, dude? Fuck that, dude. Hicks for president. If we're going to go that way, look.
Oh, Renee's back there. He said, I already got a lot to do now. I appreciate hearing that, though. I appreciate hearing that, and especially those examples, because, it's one thing for somebody to be like, yeah, we got to help everybody, but it's another thing for you to understand those nuances, for you to understand that sometimes, people are in situations that they can't help, and they wind up making mistakes or making decisions in the heat of the moment, wherever they're dealing with some intense thing, and knowing that
you hear it all the time. I mean, you hear when people is having a mental breakdown, and then next thing you know, they're being incarcerated or being treated as a criminal when instead it was just something that they needed medical help or mental help with. But that's good, Mr. Hicks, man. I'm really hoping the best for you. Just because, hopefully not, but if I do, I would be making that call to Mr. Hicks, asking for that one room.
You got to vote first, though. Okay?
Yeah, that's right. We got to vote. So everybody, you guys got to vote. Now, Mr. Hicks, before we kind of go towards the back end of this podcast, would you look straight into this camera right here and let everybody know where they could follow you or hear about you and hear your news and all that?
Sure. So I'm on Facebook at District Attorney Bill Hicks. Instagram's the same thing, District Attorney Bill Hicks, at District Attorney Bill Hicks. We have our website is keepdahicks.com, keepdahicks.com, HICKS. And what else? I think that's it.
Hey, guys, dude.
There it is.
Now, I'm going to change my social media to, instead of, just my name, Misa, I'd be like Spectrum Seller Misa.
Yeah.
I think if I remember right, your Instagram is DA Bill Hicks, right?
Yeah, DA Bill Hicks.
But I was making a really dumb joke earlier that it sounds like duh Bill Hicks. It's duh Bill Hicks.
There you go.
But speaking of Facebook, I was actually, I was being a little creep and, going through your page there. But I did see, I've seen that you're a fan of boxing, especially local boxing.
Oh, yeah.
You were just there at the Stephanie Hahn's fight. We were actually there ourselves, too. We're big fans of Stephanie Hahn and DJ Bonds that was out there, too. How was that? How is it to you? Has it always been a sport that you like? Would you ever get in the ring and fight another district attorney? How's that? How's that? The love for sports or
the public defender and I are going to freak it out.
Oklahoma, we're coming for you.
Man, we gotta keep it even though, right?
Balance. This goes back to when I was a kid. My dad was coming out of the Korean War. He was a Golden Gloves boxing champion.
Damn.
So. It goes back. My love for that comes from my dad's love for boxing.
Yeah.
And my dad, always taught me how to box and would box with me when I was a little kid. And we
put you to bed.
This is why I behaved so well as a kid.
That's why he's a district attorney.
That's why.
I would talk back, and it was time for some boxing lessons. So I don't know if when I was watching Stephanie box, I was sitting there. Oh yeah, go.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in and hold that other girl down for her, especially after I saw her cut up, dude. She got cut up. She was bleeding, man. I was like, no shit, dude. We got to do something, dude. She's a cop. You can't. That should be illegal, right? I think that is illegal to hit a cop like that.
Not if they're in the ring, buddy.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It did look like Stephanie Hahn threw the first punch, anyway. So, but that's good. I think it'd be great one of these days. Maybe get Stephanie Hahn, who's also a also works for the cops.
She's a police officer.
Shout out to Stephanie Hahn, man. There was actually just recently, a few days ago, they dedicated a whole day for her.
Yes.
Stephanie Hahn Day, man. We need to get me one of those, baby. Misa Day.
Misa Day.
Misa Day. Everybody gets a day off, gets ribs.
Bill Hicks probably get that day first.
Yeah. I'll probably be in that one room with a view. But yeah, but other than boxing, have you been to a soccer game? Have you been to any of the baseball games here in Chihuahua?
Oh, love
What
the
does Bill
Chihuahuas.
Hicks do on his time off, if he gets time off? I'm catching bad guys.
Well, no, I have a 6-year-old. So
okay.
I don't have a lot of days off. It's either work or I'm spending time with my 6-year-old. So
Congratulations on that 6-year-old, man. If you want an 8-year-old, I got one too. Comes with clothes and everything. He feeds himself. But that's good, Mr. Hicks, man. It's been an awesome episode, guys. We are coming down to the final few minutes here. What I want to do now is I kind of want to go around this table. I want us to give our last final words, starting with our boy Gris here. Gris, final words, my guy.
Well, you know what? I want to say it was pretty exciting to get to meet you, Bill Hicks. I've heard about you. I've moved back home to Texas. I've only been back here in El Paso for my hometown for about a year. And it's been cool to get to, meet new people and get different perspectives on things. So thank you for helping me get a new perspective on who you are and what you do.
Some good words, bro. Wow, dude. I was going to say the exact same thing, but
I stole it from your notebook.
Did you see? I couldn't even read it. I was like, bro, screw that. I can't even read my own handwriting. How embarrassing is that? But okay, Mr. Hicks, final words for you, sir.
make sure that you are registered to vote since you just moved back. So go get registered to vote.
Already done.
Good. Then go to keepdahicks.com, and that's where you need to be next. No, listen, I really appreciate you letting me come in. It's been really enjoyable. The time's flown by, but most of all, thanks for those that excellent ribs and barbecue, man. That was delicious.
No. Oh, yeah, it was. Shout out to Moose's Draft House one more time. Our friend Tony Baloney. Bro, I couldn't wait to get your meat in my mouth, and that shit was delicious. Thank you so much.
Bill Hicks is here. You can't make that joke.
Is that illegal to say? I thought we live in America. We live in the best country in America, Texas, my mind. But anyways, final words for me, guys. I want to start off by saying, Gris, thank you so much, bro. I didn't want to do this alone. Chewy got sick, and so he was
hosting a charity event.
Yeah, but yeah, he is. He is at a charity event somewhere. But dude, Gris, thank you so much for coming through and being a part of this. And Mr. Hicks, sir, I've been very excited to have you on and talk to you. I was a little nervous. I wouldn't know, like I said, just, knowing that you're the district attorney and having to be a judge as well, dude. When I heard he was a judge, I was like, fuck.
She thought he was going to come in here with like a rap sheet with all your shit on it. He's like, I saw you did this back when you were a teenager.
Yeah, Hicks came in. He's like, you paid that ticket already? I was like, oh shit, how do you know? But yeah, again, thank you so much. It was fun. I hope everybody that's watching really enjoys and really gets to really see who you really are and how you really love what you do. And being the DA of El Paso is something that everybody should really appreciate and everything you've done for us. And so, like always, all of our guests, you are more than welcome to come back at any time. I don't know if we will have ribs again next time. Maybe brisket. We didn't have brisket or anything. But Mr. Hicks, sir, one more time, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been very fun. I appreciate you. And I'm not gonna wash my hands, man. I got a handshake from Bill Hicks.
Don't be weird, man.
From Bill Hicks. But for those that are watching, for those that are listening, please make sure to go to keep Bill Hicks.
KeepDAHicks.com.
Keep it duh.
Keep the Hicks.
Keep the Bill Hicks.
KeepDAHicks.com.
Yeah. KeepTheHicks.com. Guys, you'll have all that information in the caption below. Make sure you guys are registering. Make sure you guys are voting. Make sure you go out there. Support. Keep an eye out. Mr. Hicks is always on TV. He's always on social media. I think I saw him on FitFam the other day, and I've been trying to get on FitFam for a while. But anyways, my kids are waiting in the car. We gotta go, guys. Thank you so much. Episode number 35 is in the books. We are out. Thanks, Bill Hicks. Pórtense bien.